I'm Kirk Lamoreaux. I'm a consultant. I've been working independently for the last 10 years. My practice is focused on healthcare, IT companies, and I have been working with clients in the rare disease space specifically for basically 6 years. So we've been looking at a variety of different issues related to that. Prior to that, I came out of pharma, where I spent about 16 years in a variety of roles, both on the commercial side, but then in planning and business development and then public policy is kind of where I ended up. So it's been remarkable to be able to work with RareX on this project and Alexion, who was one of the sponsors of the paper. And together we've been able to, I think, do a project that has been long overdue. So, one of the key things I think with rare diseases is that there are some fundamental things that we don't fully understand and appreciate. And one of them is the true number of rare diseases. So, for the last decade or so, the number has remained fairly static, like between 7,000 to 8,000 rare diseases, or 6,000 to 8,000, depending on the estimate. And as I and others have been trying to figure out the provenance of that number, it has been very difficult. Basically, there's these circular references where one entity refers to another's, and it kind of goes round and round. So understanding the true source of that number has been a little problematic. And so working in conjunction with Alexion and RareX, we kind of undertook the project to try and count the number of rare diseases, because we believe that there's power in numbers, and that the more accurate we can reflect this number, the more effective advocacy groups will be in making the case for the needs of the community. And so that's really kind of the impetus behind this, is to develop an estimate that can allow us to talk more specifically about the numbers of rare diseases, and to recognize all the different communities that are out there, and to be as inclusive as possible without necessarily being duplicative or trying to inflate the number for any particular reason. Well, let's take a look in the last couple of years, and I know that you guys have done research or interviews with some of the folks behind the economic and cost and burden of rare disease through Every Life Foundation, the GEO report. These have been some of the very first reports to try and create a national perspective on what is the cost and implications of rare disease. And one of the things is that they're highly limited in their ability to do research, because we don't truly reflect all rare diseases within some of these cost estimates. And that's one of the key things that we've been trying to find. When we take a look at Alzheimer's or cancer, they've been extraordinarily effective at being able to advocate on behalf of their communities. Oftentimes, they're able to go to both national policymakers or to state policymakers, and they can tell them how many patients in a geography have cancer or Alzheimer's. And they can basically talk about the cost and implications of that particular disease, together with the personal, emotional impact of having these conditions. And they've been able to adequately get resources dedicated and kind of mind share. And one of the key things that we wanted to do is, again, help ensure that as the broader rare disease community advocates on behalf of more resources and attention, that they have an accurate number. And the 10,867 number that we came up with, I think, reflects the progress that's been made over the last several years. We know that on average, there are about 300 new conditions that are added to knowledge bases every year. And there is kind of a lumping and kind of a collapsing as we kind of better understand disease. We understand that some actually are multiple conditions, and others we actually find are derivatives or variations on a condition. And so, although the number is never, it's constantly changing, we've done our best to try and use a transparent, repeatable approach that can be done at different intervals to kind of stay current with kind of where we are and our understanding of rare diseases. One of the things to note is that this report did more than just count the number of conditions. What we had also set out to do was trying to characterize them to better understand how well they're described in the key knowledge bases that are out there. And one of the key findings is that 20% of diseases that are in perhaps OMIM and Orphanet are so poorly described that they only have less than 3 symptoms or phenotypes associated with that description. that makes the condition practically medically unactionable. And so one of the key things that we were trying to point out is, what can be done about that? How do we help communities better understand the process for both getting their condition recognized in a major knowledge base, but then more importantly, helping it to progress to a level of understanding where it becomes an attractive target for research and development firms or academic researchers. And so that's one of the key things that I think is unique about the report, is that we also are trying to focus and educate the advocacy community around how decisions are made around inclusion and the types of details that are put into these knowledge bases, and the importance of ensuring that their research efforts all are kind of geared towards a publication strategy in peer-reviewed journals, because that's really kind of the cost of entry into these different knowledge bases. And so that's one of the key, I think, things that we've tried to highlight in the course of the report.